Please rise for a silent reflection and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Here.
Mrs. King? Here. Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Tinkin?
Here.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Here.
Mayor McCann?
Here. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Coast Star newspaper, and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with borough policy. Need a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of Resolution 180 and 181.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Do we have any questions on the agenda? One eighty-one is the
Change order.
yes,
That's the
yes, agreed.
agreement, that's it.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the November 23rd executive and regular sessions.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Any questions on the minutes? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Abstain.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we do have a presentation by Mr. Charles Latini Jr., President of the American Planning Association. Thank you for coming. We're glad to have you. Just step forward. Mr. Latini.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to be here before you. My name is Chuck Latini. I'm a land use planner and the president of the American Planning Association, New Jersey chapter. By way of background for myself, I've been a municipal planner and consultant for almost the last 20 years. I'm about a year shy of that 20-year mark. Time flies. But I have my own consulting firm, and my organization, the Planning Association, is a 100% volunteer planning organization. We're a membership-driven organization with 1,100 planners from throughout the state, practicing from High Point all the way down to Cape May. A few years ago, Ms. Cribbin contacted us about our community planning assistance program. And what we've been able to do since the inception of the program back in 2006, where we did a sort of redevelopment plan for a town up in Sussex County. I'm blanking on the name right now. It'll come to me. We've served roughly 3 to 5 communities a year for the last several years, assisting towns on a variety of different levels, from intensive analysis of their planning documents to, just working with some neighborhood-based planning groups on, designing parks and the like. This particular request back in September of 2013 was to seek our assistance to a zoning issue that was going on in a particular project down 71. Since we don't get involved with disputes like that, we kind of offered our assistance in terms of types of things that you should be looking at while you're analyzing and combating developers and the like. And subsequent to that initial conversation, we really got into, what kind of assistance can the chapter provide the borough in a more proactive manner, because that's usually how we approach things. So the idea came about as we started looking through some of the documents that you folks have available, and then those that we had to kind of drum up and research. Found that, you have been doing your reexamination reports, which kind of take a good look-see as to what's going on and how your master plan may or may not be still relevant. But the thing that kept bubbling back up in our minds was that, and you're not unique by any stretch of imagination in New Jersey, where you have a dated master plan and your reexaminations are trying to keep up with changing times and changing economies. And frankly, different directions that some of your residents or even yourselves might want to take from time to time. So the offer that bubbled up was to really take a look with our volunteers and work with your planning board, you folks, people on, say, your environmental commission, and your current consultants, and develop an RFP for what we find through that process would be necessary to invest in. And so through that process, we would look at what's statutorily required of you in a master plan, but also look at some of the things that are recommended but not required, put sort of a preliminary budget on that, and a schedule that then says, okay, well, we have a budget for X, Y, and Z over the next 1 to 5 years. What can we realistically take on? What do we need to, because the timing is running out on your need to re-examine your master plan or create a new master plan. And then from there, you decide how much resources that you want to allocate to that effort. And you either take that information and utilize your existing consultants who are, I'm sure, relevant and competent, or put it out to the planning world and see what you get out there in terms of different firms and the like who have experience in towns like yours and can offer their assistance. I can tell you real quickly that master plans really are critical documents that I think have been glossed over for many years, because it requires an investment. But when you, as you see in the original proposal we put out, we start looking at corporations and what they devote to long-range planning. You look at 15–20% of these corporations' budgets, and most municipalities put less than 5% in. But then expect economic development to happen, expect your ability to pull together different quality of life pieces for your residents and attract new businesses to come together. So what a master plan and its process can do is really kind of work to set a process that brings the community together, gets them sort of excited about the potential for the town, sets that vision in place, could actually, in some cases, use as marketing tools. I've seen ones that I've worked on in the past, primarily redevelopment plans, more or less, end up as, in places where they're really going out and attracting new businesses with the plan itself. And then really work towards laying the groundwork that the master plan really is set for, which is the zoning ordinances and the stuff that different developers will look forward to. And the biggest thing that they look for is a community that's sort of moving forward, is sort of excited about what direction they want to take. And then there are rules and regulations to help implement that aren't archaic or so that they can't possibly do it without going to the zoning board and the potential of huge objections because we didn't really think about that, and numerous meetings and huge expenses on their part to get it through the process. So with that said, our offer is still on the table. What we would do is, like I already said, that we would work with the planning board in particular, usually the logical place to start with this. But we, whether it's myself or others, we put out a call for those planning experts that have experience working with highway corridors, shore towns, those types of issues. So I wouldn't bring somebody in here that's a rural or agricultural planner to help you through that process. I'd bring somebody in here, probably 3 to 5 people, and all volunteer, and help you put this stuff down on paper and help you move forward with whatever it is that you want to ultimately move forward with. So, that said, that.
I heard the word volunteer. Now, as when you're dealing with, a small town like this, first thing that people want to know is what's it going to cost?
We've generally, depends on the town's resources. So we've asked for some modest reimbursement of expenses, whether it be copying or the like. We don't ask you for travel. We don't ask you for per diems. All that's covered. I mean, at most we've charged probably $1,000. Now, each town's unique, so depending on your budgetary situations, and you make the case to our review committee, they've waived it many times because they do recognize the predicament that you all are in, trying to balance your budgets amidst a 2% gap and the like. So it's very modest. So.
You usually start with the planning board?
Usually, it doesn't have to.
Okay.
It could start with a subcommittee of this body.
Now, Chuck, if I'm not mistaken, I think our master plan comes up in 2018, does it not? So how far in advance would be, I mean, is this a good time to start looking into that, since we're going to be a couple of years away?
You're statutorily mandated to look at it every 10 years. It used to be every 6, but they changed it a few years back to 10, much to my chagrin. But, and that has nothing to do with, available work and stuff that we bid on, but things change all the time in municipalities. So that's the time that you must look at it. I've seen towns that are extremely proactive in the planning department. I mean, you look at Morristown, up in Morris County, South Orange, some towns down South Jersey, Haddonfield. They might review their master plan every couple of years or re-examine it based upon the situation that popped up and they want to get proactive on it. So, but in terms of timing, giving yourself that window to lay out, it's going to take us at least a few months to lay out what we're going to be doing, and getting that nailed down on paper, given meeting schedules and the like.
Right.
When you get started on a real inclusive process, that's the direction you're going, where you're going to have workshops with the community and the like. It can last, anywhere from 9 months to a year itself, just once you say go.
Right.
So.
Anyone else have a question for Mr. Latini?
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And we're happy to. All you have to do is give us a buzz, and I'll put my community planning assistance director on it, and we'll come down here, meet with you all, and lay out a game plan for the game plan. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no scheduled public hearings at this time, so we'll move to the public comment section, where you may speak on any agenda item. All you have to do is step forward, give your name and address, and may speak on agenda item. Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close the public comment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, 2016 reorganization meeting. I guess we're looking for a date, a time?
We talked about noon on the 1st, and Sarah and Robert were both in agreement with that, so I think that's the three of us that we absolutely need to be there. Everybody else hopefully can be there.
Noon on the 1st.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I am going to note that on your resolution. resolution, which we will be adopting later on.
Request for qualifications. Jay, you have to,
Yes, Mayor, just to report to the council, it is that time of year, and we have a reorganization day. In the past, we have prepared a request for proposals, requests for qualifications for various officials, including borough attorney, labor counsel, bond counsel, auditor, and financial services advisor. And with council's approval, we have those ready to go. We will have them out later this week with a return date on December 30, which provides the information to be distributed and available to the council for discussion and action at the reorganization meeting.
Very good. Yeah, yes, sir. Sounds good.
council reports or announcements, whatever you have. We'll begin with Councilman Hinton.
Thank you, Mayor. I provided.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you. I provided the council with several reports over the past couple of months in terms of the recreation programs. As you might recall, this year we expanded the soccer program, and we joined ourselves with the Manasquan Soccer League, which gave us a little more control over the scheduling. Gave us more control over the fees and where the money goes, and it also provided us with more age-appropriate groupings. Last year, the groupings were, for example, grades 2 through 4, and the difference between a second grader and a fourth grader on a soccer field can be huge. Yeah, and so we like the way things worked out this year in Manasquan, and I would, as I wrote in my report, I would recommend that stay in that direction at least another year, give it another year. Likewise with the summer recreation program, I think Jay, Sean, and I have now, after 3 years, really struck a very nice balance in terms of staffing that we have with the program, the types of activities that we offer for the students, and the cost. It is by far one of the most economical programs for parents in this area. One way we know that is because we're getting more and more parents from other towns who come to our recreation program, and they of course they pay a little bit of a higher fee because they're not residents, but it's still low compared to what their town is charging, and we offer more. So I think we're on a good path there, and once again I would recommend staying with the current structure that we've worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you put in a lot of time and effort. You did a real good job with that.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate your support with the recreation program.
Thank you. Councilman Campion.
I have nothing.
Utilities.
I have nothing from utilities to report, but I do want to thank everyone for a great year up here. It's my first year. I think it's been awful productive. I've enjoyed working with everybody up here. Sad to see you go, Chris. I'm excited to see Robert get up here and see how things go. And I'd like to say thanks to Butch for all of his support this year. And I'm very sad to see you go, and I appreciate all your dedication to the town.
Thank you.
And for everybody else, have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you on the 1st.
Councilman Borbeck.
I'll just piggyback off of Chris's wonderful sentiment, and then it reflects my feelings too. You've done a great job. Chris done a great job, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Councilman Shul.
I'm happy to report that we've got rid of all the old equipment in the yard. It went up on auction this past weekend, and I believe it'll be gone in 2 weeks, Jay?
We hope by the end of the week.
End of the week? Good.
It'll be off price.
That's,
Thank you, Jim. And Councilwoman Ms. King.
I have a report here that, well, it's not really a report. It's in regards to the Veterans Day luncheon, and it's addressed to Mr. Carragher and committee. It says, "So many thanks to you and the hard work of your committee, and again, hosting a wonderful luncheon for our veterans. My husband and I have attended this luncheon in the past when, thank God, he was able. And so I appreciate all you do to giving a joyful afternoon to veterans and their wives too. You are all to be congratulated, and we extend our wholehearted thanks. May God's blessings shower on you and our beloved USA, John and Regina Frost." And I know that this is, something that definitely all of the veterans and their wives and the committee love to do every single year. Rich Carriger is here tonight, and I just want to thank him, along with Eileen, who is here tonight, Eilenberger, and Jay, and myself, and Huey Meehan, who worked to put all of that together, and it was really excellent this year. We had the biggest turnout. I don't know, Rich, do you want to say a couple of things in reference to that?
No, basically, just to reiterate what you said, and of course, Janine, who's the big help,
Yes,
And,
absolutely, the office staff does.
and John Tarantino, who's our Fairway Muse representative,
Correct.
where a large contingent of veterans come from. And just, thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
And I, along with everyone else, wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I do want to say that I'm going to miss having Butch here as our mayor, but I also welcome Tom O'Brien and look forward to the year coming. I also thank Chris for his service on the council and wish him well in his endeavors, and wish all my fellow councilmen and mayor-to-be and mayor who's leaving us a healthy and happy upcoming new year.
Thank you. Councilman O'Brien, our newly elected mayor.
Yeah, I just want to echo everybody else's sentiments. I mean, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mayor Mechanico, for your time, your effort and service. Having served up here, I know that sometimes this can be fun and easy, and a lot of times it's not. So, anybody who's willing to do it and does it with such good humor as you both have is really appreciated. So thank you. And then happy holidays to everybody else.
Thank you, Tom.
You'll find out.
Yeah, I know.
Reports, notice, and correspondence. We have a numerous list there. Jay, do you want to make any comments on any of those?
Mayor, just seems like we've been speaking to this regularly. The information that's been provided from the Monmouth County Tax Board regarding the assessment demonstration program. We've also received at least one letter, what I would call constructive criticism regarding that program. The most important information to point out is that the county tax board has relented to public pressure and has now provided municipalities with the ability to opt out of the program, although the caveat there is that the opt-out would not take effect until the 2017 tax year. As you are all aware, we have previously awarded a contract for 3 years of inspections. This year represents the second of 3. So we are contracted to continue with the inspections through 2016, at which time, if not before, the council could actually opt out of that program. And I think I'll leave it to the county tax board to offer the pros and cons regarding that. I think during our budget sessions, we have had a significant discussion on some of the real advantages of the program in terms of its ability to have a tax rate struck at the time our budget is adopted, knowing full well what our total assessed valuations in the community would be. Under the old system, property owners were still in the process of filing tax appeals, and those tax appeals were in the process of being heard. So even though our tax rate may have been determined based on an old valuation, once the appeals were concluded, the municipality was in a position of having to provide refunds to taxpayers while we have already then paid the county and the schools for the tax assessments or tax levies that they have assessed. So that is one of the positives here. Obviously, this program includes a number of other aspects in terms of the ongoing inspections. We all know the pros and cons of that. In any event, it is something that I would suggest the council give consideration to. The deadline to opt out is in April of the coming year. There is still information forthcoming, and as you can see, we have just received at least one piece of correspondence offering some suggestions and requesting that the council give serious consideration to that opt-out.
That April 2016 date, is that based on our contract or by the county?
That's based on the county's determination as to the timeline necessary to have something in place for the 2017 tax year. So the question that remains is, if we are 3/5 into a 5-year cycle of doing the inspections and we opt out, what happens to those properties that have not been inspected, as well as would we then revert to a position where we would have to undertake a reassessment? So some of those questions are still outstanding, but in any event, that date is set by the county tax board.
Well, I think my personal sentiment, and I don't know that we want to go too in depth on that, but I got my card the other day and I was not part of the program, yet somehow I magically had a significant increase. And if the ones of us who weren't assessed are still going to get increases, why bother paying somebody else to give us increases anyway? That's sort of my sentiment on it right now. But I think there's a little more information to look into than just that, but it seems to be a common pattern throughout town that those of us who were not touched by it, and part of the reason I like the program was if you're going to assess 20% every year for 5 years to get to 100, I would think that if I'm assessed now, I know I'm good for 5 years. But that's not the case, is it?
No, and I will, and I find myself being in the position of being the defender of the program. And I'll leave that to the county tax board representatives and our own tax assessor, who is much better versed. But the one common misconception is that the 5-year cycle of inspections was tied directly to a change in assessments, and that is not the case. The assessments were intended to be ongoing with the idea of on average 20% would be completed each year, but the program also provided the assessor with the immediate ability to adjust assessments up or down as the market determined. So I understand your concern, complaint, and that was I'm not sure that it was very clearly expressed during the presentation that we heard from the county tax board some 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seemed a little biased, and being a defender of the program, you should just come in with a t-shirt with a big bullseye.
Yeah, I think something we have to remember though is that if everybody is assessed with the same information, and at the end of the day, at the end of every year, we have as close to 100% assessment as you possibly can. You can't ask for a better situation.
I agree that helps us for budgeting, and that's a great concept.
No, it helps everybody. If you're paying your fair share, then you're paying your fair share.
But how does that keep our seniors and our residents here who are trying to budget their money every year to survive, to stay in town, if every year when that card shows up, they're going to get a surprise? That's my concern.
I think the best thing to do is that the county and the state should have spent a whole lot less money on this and found a better way to tax us, as opposed to a way that's
Or
constantly
they could start
changing.
taxing less and spending
Or
less.
just do it with an income tax or a state tax as opposed to.
We have enough taxes, stop saying
But
that.
either way, the best, I mean, in my opinion, the best way, if you're gonna have this as your tax base for raising money for your schools, then everybody should be paying their fair share, and the best way to do that is to check every year if you're paying your fair share.
Is it a fair shot at a momentary snapshot in town, 1 year, if something happened to go well, and for some reason there was an influx of people that one period of buying homes, now you're gonna take that hit so that next year you can go down?
The last
And
time
if
we
you
did
dis-
this though, on a 10-year cycle, the 1 year that they did it was the peak of the housing market.
Well, it seems to be the snapshot's the problem, and it should almost be an aggregate over a certain number of years so that it's flowing and major increases are absorbed by an average and not an instantaneous smack in the side of the head with a 2x4.
Yes, it's
I agree.
It's great for the town to have the planning ability, but what about the residents planning their
That was
budgets?
my, thank you. You
Well, I think
articulated that much
one of
better.
the big problems is that you've got such a difference in the increases. This one gentleman that we have a letter from here, Mr. Victor Tui, his assessment went up $60,000, yet his neighbors went up only $3,000. They live right next door to each other, and they both happen to be right near the borough yard. And as this gentleman, he spoke to me and called me on the phone, and I told him to write his concerns and send it to the mayor and council, because he said, how could my neighbor who has somewhat of the same house only go up $3,000 and my assessment goes up $60,000? To me, that's inappropriate.
Yes.
And, maybe this is a good process, but I think what we're having here is a lot of people are getting exorbitant assessment increases, and we were kind of forced into this program. It wasn't that we really had our choice. We were told if we didn't do it, we were going to be forced to do it anyway. And if I remember correctly, wasn't there even something said, Jay, about us being fined if we didn't do it?
Well,
There was some arm twisting.
There was definitely arm twisting.
we were faced with the prospect of either having the county coordinate the inspection and bill us for it, or the worst-case scenario where we would have had to undergo a reassessment or revaluation first, or in the alternative. So there were, I guess it's the classic between a rock and a hard place. Our valuation, based on the equalized valuation and the relative assessments to true market values that we in general were, we were able to undertake this or enter the program on the basis of moving forward doing the 5-year cycle inspection. Some municipalities, because their evaluations were so far out of whack with the market, were compelled to undertake a reassessment or revaluation process first. But certainly, our situation was, I think, for those that were on the council at that time, we did not have the option to opt in. It was the county that chose on a county-wide basis to opt into the demonstration program.
That's it.
I have one comment on this, that as Tom stated, the last time they did the reevaluation at the top of the market. Since then, I haven't seen that magical program they got in Freehold that readjusted my property value as the property values went down. The only time you see this reevaluation is when they go up. Then all of a sudden, he runs a magical program and your evaluation goes up. It's,
We were also,
I think somebody should take a look at this program freely.
we were also told we had, multiple vendors. And how many did we have to bid?
We received one
Right,
bid in response
exactly.
to our public notice.
Exactly.
Looks like the newly council coming up is gonna have
Some contention here.
Let's not talk about that.
Just to note, I have an article here in the Jersey Journal dated Friday, November the 27th. It's quite a lengthy article, but there is a little quote in here, and it says that Realty Appraisal is accused in Monmouth County of receiving inside information from a government official before receiving a 6-figure contract for an Ocean Township revaluation. Now, with all this stuff that's going on in reference to this, and all these people that are being accused, and of course, you are, you're innocent until proven guilty, obviously, but what I would like to know is this opting out. First of all, I think we should opt out. I don't think that we should hesitate. I think we should opt out of this program. But with all of this that's going on, and I understand that budgets and everything else are connected here, but looking at people who are suffering with these high increases, and I gotta be honest with you, I don't think they're gonna get a break if they come in here and talk to our tax assessor. I really don't.
But I think, Sarah, the toughest part of that is when they get that break, if they do, it's only good until next time and they can change it again, right?
Exactly,
And the window
exactly.
is smaller, et cetera,
Yeah,
et
sorry.
cetera. There's a lot of stuff.
Exactly, and I mean, isn't there more that we can do here?
We can opt out.
Borough attorney?
I think really you're given two choices, as Jay's indicated. You can opt out, or you can stay in and continue with the process, at least for the time being. But I think I don't personally know enough about the situation. The allegations against these people are just what you said, they're just allegations at this point. I don't know that that should impact anyone's decision one way or another. I don't know that anybody has enough information at this point. I certainly don't, as counsel, to give an opinion on it.
And if I may, Mayor, just in response to the, what I'll call the question by Mrs. King, the system of tax assessments is designed to insulate the assessor and the assessment process from the political process. For good or bad, you can see that both at the county level, where the governor actually appoints county tax board members, and at the local level, where the assessor, although appointed by the governing body, is subject to supervision by the county tax board and the administrator at the county, as well as is then eligible for a tenure in office position. The only point that should be made is that property owners, if they are unsatisfied, dissatisfied, unhappy, or outraged by their assessment, the process requires them to file an appeal to the county tax board. There is a short deadline on that. It's essentially January 15th. Property owners at this point have been notified of their assessments that are being imposed for the coming tax year. And as much as we may disagree with it, and even if we agree with the property owner's observations, it is not the governing body's, the governing body is not in a position to make that change, nor is the governing body or myself in a position to influence the tax assessor as to how we use that. The appeal process is available to residents and property owners, and if they have any questions about their assessment, they should speak with the assessor and thereafter file an appeal to the county if it won't be changed.
By the same token, too, if they appeal this and they get it reduced, it's only good for a year. And the previous, it was good for 3 years.
That is true. That is absolutely true. And that is one of the changes that this assessment demonstration program has provided. I will, again, I'm not comfortable being in the position of defending the program, but it is a pilot program. I think, frankly, everyone expected that there would be pros and cons to it, and that before it's implemented on what is expected to be a statewide basis, there would be changes made. But I'll let the county tax board make that.
I agree with Tom on the bid. It's something we could budget for on a basis, but I don't agree with us budgeting for it. They come and appraise it, and then they run a magic program in Freehold that changes everything. Do away with the magic program in Freehold, I go along with this.
I don't think there's a good way to do it as part of the problem. We just have to figure out what, for us, is the best of the bad ways. Because whether we do it, whether we opt out or we opt in, I think both ways have their disadvantages. We just have to figure out which one is best for our town.
Yeah, we're not running both.
Well, yeah, right now we're doing both.
One of the things that I'm leaning towards the opting out option for no other reason than to send a message to this board that we're not supporting this nonsense being jammed down the throat of our residents and the unfairness. But what you just said, I picked up on some key parts on that I think are entirely unfair to residents. So the tax cards show up between sometime after Thanksgiving, just after a major holiday. And then you have between 2 major holidays of Christmas and New Year's to try and figure out your appeal, so the first year in the new year you can go and appeal it. Now, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but while I appreciate that it helps, that seems awful suspect to hit that to people when they're most occupied and most distracted, hoping they miss it in the mail and you can move on with your life.
Right.
Okay, Tom.
I'd like to make a motion to table this hypothetical discussion. We don't have to figure that out. Sorry. The Giants are on.
I second that.
Yeah.
Rob's newly elected, he can get some more preliminary.
You've heard plenty.
Okay. All right, well, good luck with that issue. Still a resident.
That's right, we're counting on you, we're counting on you to figure it out.
I'm counting on you. We do have a few resolutions we have to vote on. Start with Resolution R 2015-174, authorizing the overpayment of taxes. Need a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Resolution R 2015-175, authorizing use of the community center.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-176, authorizing the transfer of 2015 budget appropriation. Need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passed.
A resolution R 2015-177, 177, naming a Fletcher property, the Veterans Tribute Park. We need a motion and a second.
Make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, and just before I have a roll call, I just would like to read a section of this, if you don't mind. The Borough Engineer is authorized to design and install a sign for Veterans Tribute Park as an appropriate plaque with the following inscription. The people of this community are eternally grateful for the many sacrifices of America's armed forces. Veterans Tribute Park is dedicated by the people of Spring Lake Heights with respect, gratitude, honor for the men and women, past and present, who so admirably served America in wartime and peacetime. This park also pays tribute to the police, firemen, first responders, and all who volunteer their time and energy to Spring Lake Heights. Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-178, authorizing 2016 reorganization date, which is,
January 1st at noon.
thank you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-179, approving payment of claims on the December 11th, 2015 bills list.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the bills? Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I forgot. Resolution R 2015-180.
Mayor, if you'd like to
Yes,
read
yes,
that.
I would thank you, Janine.
Resolution of the Borough Council appointing a sergeant in the police department. Whereas the Public Safety Committee, upon the recommendation of the Chief of Police, has deemed it necessary to fill an additional position of sergeant in the police department. And whereas Patrolman Travis Ventimiglia has successfully completed the qualifying process for promotion to sergeant. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Spring Lake Heights and the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, that Patrolman Travis Ventimiglia be hereby appointed to the position of sergeant in the Spring Lake Heights Police Department effective January 1st, 2016, at a salary as provided in the negotiated police contract.
Thank you. Do we have a motion in a second?
I'm gonna make that motion. Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Do we have any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And congratulations. A resolution R 2015-181, resolution for the tree preservation. I believe we're going to recoup $3,000.
Yes, Mayor, the contract that was previously awarded to the contractor for what has been termed the 2015 tree preservation project. That included the trees from the Alair Road Park. The contract as awarded was in the amount of $67,500. This change order reflects a decrease of $3,000. The number of trees that ended up having to come out was actually reduced from the original estimate. So this provides for a revised contract amount of $64,500 and also authorizes the final payment to the contractor.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion and a second?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And I believe that's it for the resolution.
That is correct.
Okay. This is the point of the meeting. We have the public comment section where you may speak on any item you like. Just step forward, give your name and address.
Hi, Cat Crippen, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I have two things. My revaluation horror story, and I understand, Mr. Tui is my neighbor across the street, and he has a double wide lot. But his $60,000 increase goes along with what happened to the rest of us. The rest of us all went up $30,000 on Atlantic Avenue. we're in an R5 zone, the standard lot is 50 by 150. My valuation went up $30,000, so that's another $30,000. I'm gonna get taxed on it. I understand your point, Tom, from, you know, having been here, it makes it easier for the town to budget, but it's not easier for me to budget, because, you know, my salary didn't go up whatever the tax amount is going to be. So, you know, my husband's now retired. I'm still working. I'm gonna have to rearrange things to make that happen. A friend of mine across the other side of Black Creek, her revaluation went up $50,000. And she and her husband are both retired, and he's not in good health, so she's hysterical now because she doesn't know how she's coming up with the money. The odd thing, though, is this. And you all know Atlantic Avenue, it's where the borough yard is, and the borough yard is a known contaminated site, so anytime anybody does an appeal, we bring that up, and it usually helps with the value. Everybody on the north side of Atlantic Avenue went up $30,000. The lots behind us that face Monmouth Avenue, which is also R5, they were also 50 by 150, they only went up $12,000. Now, and I know nobody here can explain it to me, and I can't explain it, but I just want you to know that that's the kind of like just odd inconsistencies, like a 50 by 150 parcel of land and it's contiguous, but the people that are behind me that face Monmouth Avenue, which is considered a more prestigious address, their lots are now valued at $318,000, where the ones facing Atlantic Avenue are valued at $335,000. So, explain that, and nobody can. So I don't know where they get these numbers from, because if you said everybody on that block that's 50 by 150 has the same value, okay, that would make sense, but I
think most of us agree with you.
It doesn't make sense. So I certainly would support anybody that wants to opt out of this, because I understand we're stuck for 2016, and by 2017, you know, the thing going under grand jury investigation right now, who knows what may happen by then, but at least get out of it while you can.
Would you know if your area was part of this reassessment?
Oh, yeah.
You were?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and it was interesting, because when the guy came through, he was telling us like which houses on the block should be demolished, and you know, just making like sort of inappropriate comments as to the quality of the neighborhood and, you know, the quality of the neighbors. And it was
that should be called in and alert our administrator any comments that they make to the residents.
Well,
they
also, the guy who came around said, well, I'm not doing a reevaluation, I'm just looking around to see if anything changed since the last time I came through. And it was like, really? That's not what it said in the newspaper. So we just let it go. But, you know, it's just odd all the way around. The other thing that I want to bring up is that hopefully by January 1st, we will be able to live stream your meetings. I have the equipment for it now. We did some technological advances. We're in the process of doing some piloting. And I touched base with the borough attorney. As you probably know, the being allowed to record a meeting was part of a New Jersey Supreme Court case a few years ago against the Maurice River Board of Education. So it is an allowable thing, and Gary said just to make everybody aware of it. So if on January 1st you see me with an iPad hooked up to the camera on the black tripod, then you're going to be live from Spring Lake Heights.
Hopefully a lot of residents will take advantage of it.
Watching us instead of the Giants.
I have had people ask me for the service, mostly, you know, some of the older folks, the Fairway Muse folks who don't like to drive at night, who don't like to get out. And I don't know, the videos are on YouTube, sometimes people watch them, sometimes they don't, but we thought if we tried it to see if we can stream it live, you know, you'll all be on TV and look great, so get your makeup in ahead of time. Thank you.
So we wouldn't have to come out in the rain, we could just stay home?
There you go, just log on and watch it.
Watch Green Bay, you'd be happier.
Would you bring the milk and cookies over to us?
Anyone else like to speak? Step forward, give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Diane Hudson, and I live at Fairway Muse. I purchased my unit 3 years ago. I did appeal the taxes because I was assessed $440 and I paid $342. Okay, I appealed it. The county board, because of the ratio between the market price and the assessment, lowered it. I just got my card, and they've raised the land $35,000, and the unit 4,000, for a total of what, $39,000? We don't have 50 by 150 lots in Fairway. And another thing about evaluating property is location, location, location. And I don't think you can take every unit that I have and evaluate it the same way, because there's differences in living on the fairway with a view of the pond, or like me, I can shake my neighbor's hand out my window. A lot of things come into whatever. But with everybody getting raised, I hope the tax rate is lowered significantly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Ms. Hutchin, excuse me,
Ms. Hudson?
Yes,
I just need your address.
27 Magnolia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close the public comment.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we adjourn the meeting, I have been asked to take care of some presentations. No? Chris Tinkin, would you please come down? On behalf of the mayor and council and the Borough of Spring Lake Heights, we're presenting you with this lovely basket from Joe Leones.
Thank you very much.
And I just want to thank you for all your dedicated service to the council and all your hard work on the Recreation Committee. It has been a tremendous improvement, and we thank you very much. And I know all the children in town, and even some that don't live in town, have benefited greatly. And I wish you very, very well in your endeavors.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank my fellow council persons for their support. I've enjoyed working with the council, and of course, the greatest joy comes from serving and working with the people of Spring Lake Heights. We have an excellent town. I've been traveling an awful lot lately, and I was so happy to come back to my town of Spring Lake Heights. I look forward to working with you again in the future. Thank you.
Butch? This is not as easy for me because Butch and I go back a long way. We grew up together here in town. I've known him for many, many, many years, and I won't say how many. But it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve on the council with him, to know him, and to be a friend of his for all these years. And on behalf of the council and the Borough of Spring Lake Heights, also a basket from Joe Leones. Thank you for all your dedicated service, everything you have done. Butch has been on the council, I think, for 12 years, 15?
3 terms.
3 terms, and then as mayor, correct? So he has definitely dedicated himself to this town for a very, very long time, and I thank him tremendously.
Thank you. I do have to make a joke though. I was expecting a Rolex. I'm old. That's very nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a very healthy New Year. I want to wish Rob good luck up here.
Thank you.
I want Tom good luck with the mayorship. And, don't know who they're going to appoint, but good luck to them as well. And I want to thank all the regular customers that came to the meeting. Mike Gladys and Rich, you guys kept us awake. But in all seriousness, I enjoyed every minute of it. I'm going to miss everybody, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to miss Jay, I'm going to miss Janine, I'm going to miss all the guys up here. I won't miss anything else, but I will miss
You can come and visit, you know.
Yeah. And I had a good time and I enjoyed it. I probably couldn't have gotten anything done but without the good people I served with, like Sarah and all the other council. If it was up to me, nothing would have gotten done. People like Jay and Janine and everyone. So I appreciate everybody's help. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me know I can help it.
Okay. Again, thank you very much, and good luck to everybody. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, before you go, I would like a picture. Darren, you got your camera? I'd just like a picture with everybody, if you don't mind.
So I didn't see you yesterday. It was kind of crowded. Where were you? Where were you? Oh, we were in section 10.
We can take some
There it
stuff
was
out
square.
later.